Hey, what's up guys? Neat J here. Welcome to my video. Today, I'm gonna show you how to model a tennis ball in Cinema 4D. Let's jump right into it. Create a sphere. Change the segments to 8 and the type to hexahedron. Press C to make it editable. In the front view and in the point mode, select these 3 points with the visible only box unchecked. Scale them like this. In line mode, select this upper part edge. Press MS to bevel this edge, set the offset to 1 centimeter. Add a subdivision to the object and set the subdivision to 3. Connect object, add a spherify to the object. Change the radius to 100 centimeters and the strength to 100%. Connect object again. In polygon mode, select these beveled loops. Press MW to inset, set the offset to 1 centimeter. Press MT to extrude and set the offset to -2 centimeters. Set the polygon selection for the inside seam and the outside part. Now let's deal with the UV map. Change the viewport to UV edit. In edge mode, select the seam edges and click UV unwrap. Oh no, the default UV map is in conflict here. Just delete the old UV map and redo the UV unwrap. Rearrange the UV map to make it tidy. In the File tab, click on New Texture. Name it and hit OK. Now I want to make some marks where I want to place my logo. Let's change the viewport layout to Paint. Click on the Body Paint Wizard icon. Select the object and click on Next. Then uncheck Recalculate UV. Go to Next. Click Finish. Use the brush tool to mark. On this side, I'll put a symbol logo up right here. And the other side, I'll put a text logo here. Let's go back to the UV Edit layout. The marks are now on the UV map. In the Layer tab, click on Create UV Mesh Layer. In the File tab, click on Save Texture. Now, let's go to Photoshop to edit the UV texture. Drag in the logo images into the UV Mesh file. Scale them down and put them in the positions that I marked in the UV map. Then I will export the UV texture in some different types for different channels, like black and white, colored and without background. Maybe I won't use them in the end. Just save some usual channels in case. Look at this colored one. I leave the logos and the seam part white. So when I use this image in the color channel, the ball is yellow, the seam and logos are white. I'll make another texture, which the background is white and the seam and logos are black. I'll talk about this later back in Cinema 4D. Okay, all the textures are saved. Let's go back to Cinema 4D. Let me quickly set the basic lighting in Redshift first. Now I'll find a felt material to start with. Drag it onto the tennis ball. In the node editor, replace the color texture with the one we just created in Photoshop. Rotate the sphere to check the symbol side. In the Simulate tab, find Hair Objects and click Add Hair. In the Guides tab of the hair object, change the length to 8 centimeters. In the Viewport tab, change the display mode to Hairlines. Now we can see the exact shape of the hair in the viewport. Create a Redshift Principled Hair Material for the hair object. In the General tab of the Principled Hair Material, change the Albedo Mix value to 1. Increase the roughness value. Decrease the melanin and melanin redness values. Let's change the color of the hair. In the Color tab of the default hair material, and under the roots, load the color texture of the tennis body. In the basic properties, check some of the properties we are going to set for the hair: kink, clump, curl, and frizz. In the thickness tab, change the root to 0.1 centimeters. In the frizz tab, change the frizz to 50% and the amount to 80%. In the kink tab, change the kink to 70% and the variation to 30%. In the clump tab, change the count to 30%, the clump to 10%, and the variation to 5%, and change the radius to 4 centimeters and the variation to 2 centimeters. Add some random twist degrees and variation as well. In the curl tab, change the curl to 360 degrees and the variation to 60 degrees. Change the amount to 90%. Let's check the render view. There are not enough hair. Let's increase the hair count to 100,000. In the guides, change the root to polygon area and change the count to 8,000. Let's move to the next part. Exclude the hair from the logo area. I'll use the density map to exclude the hair. Remember the white background and black logo map? Load this texture into the growth texture in both the guides and the hair tab. The hair of the black part will be excluded. Check the render view. Yeah, the logo area has no hair now. Now I'll find a rubber material for the seam area. Drag the rubber material onto the ball and set to the seam selection. Change the color of the rubber material. We can see that the text looks a bit warped. That's because I didn't warp my text shape exactly along the mesh guidelines in Photoshop. Let me open Photoshop again to explain it. Let's change the color to see the mesh clearly. We can see that the mesh is not straight, it's curved, right? So the straight text on this map will be warped. Select the text image, right-click and click on Warp. Just drag these handles to warp the text along the mesh grid. Okay, that's all for today's tutorial. If it helps, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.